Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa van Dijk, and if you've ever been told to cut out all dairy to clear your skin, especially if you deal with acne breakouts, I want to offer a different take. One that's based on a year-long self-experiment, because for me, dairy actually helped. My digestion got better and so did my skin. But only after I figured out what kind of dairy worked for my body. So this isn't an anti-dairy video, it's actually the opposite. It's about how finding the right kind of dairy improved my digestion and as a result my skin. And the wrong kind had been quietly causing issues for years without me even realizing it, because the symptoms almost seemed random at first. They would show up as breakouts one week, bloating the next, with no clear reason why. But the more it happened, the more I started to wonder, what if there's actually a pattern and I've just been missing it this whole time? Eventually, I realized I needed to pay closer attention because clearly something wasn't right. And if you've been a long-time follower of my channel, you probably remember I used to have massive acne flare-ups all the time. I also had these weird digestive issues. After meals, I often felt off. I would get bloated and would have these urgent bathroom trips I couldn't explain or predict. But after months of tracking, I was finally able to identify a pattern. I started testing different foods, removing them, reintroducing them, and observing how my body responded. And one thing became clear. Some kind of dairy were totally fine and others were not. And once I've adjusted that, both my digestion and my skin started to noticeably improve. And that's when I realized there might be more to this than I thought. But even then, I hadn't fully figured it out. But here's the tricky part. I was still eating a lot of dairy. I love cheese and yogurt. And I wasn't being consistent. I was eating everything: cow, goat, sheep, fresh cheese, aged cheese. And at one point, I actually thought it was aged cheese that was the problem. I went deep into the histamine intolerance theory, as one of my subscribers, shout out to Funny, mentioned she had issues with histamine-rich foods and needed to restrict certain things because of it. And the more I looked into it, the more it made sense. Suddenly, my feed was full of videos about histamine reactions, low histamine diets, and how aged cheese could contribute to it. And everyone online was saying fresh cheeses are more tolerable, so I cut out the aged ones and leaned into fresh. But it didn't help. In fact, things got worse. That's when I realized again the exact opposite was true for me. Turns out it wasn't the aging at all. It was the freshness, and maybe even the type or source of dairy. Fresh cow dairy, things like milk, cottage cheese, cream cheese, even fresh mozzarella, including the goat cheese kind, was the clear trigger. Meanwhile, I tolerated yogurt and middle-aged cheeses from goat and sheep beautifully, especially the ones aged 2 to 4 months. They became my sweet spot. No urgent bathroom trips, no flare-ups, just healthy digestion and clearer skin that finally lasted. And this makes sense when you understand the difference. From a technical standpoint and based on what I researched, regular cow's milk contains A1 casein. That's a protein that can trigger inflammation in some people. And that inflammation can show up in your gut and eventually on your skin too. It also contains lactose, and if you can't break it down well, it irritates your gut lining even more, which just adds to your body's overall inflammatory load. Goat and sheep dairy, on the other hand, contain A2 casein, which is generally easier to digest. They also still contain lactose, but when the products are properly processed, aged or fermented, the lactose is mostly broken down, beneficial bacteria will be present, and the proteins are partially pre-digested. And that combination makes them much easier to tolerate. But beyond just the technical differences, I think farming practices can play an even bigger role. If you think about it, goats and sheep are usually raised on a much smaller scale. They're often kept by small farmers who really care about their animals, living in better conditions and eating more natural diets, closer to what they would eat in nature. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case everywhere, but generally it is less industrialized than large-scale cow dairy farms. Antibiotics and artificial treatments are also more restricted and often even banned entirely in those systems. So that may be one of the reasons too. There are just fewer toxins and additives present, which I personally think plays a much bigger role in all of this. Now, I don't know the exact reason why my body reacts this way, but what I do know and what I've seen firsthand is that my digestion and skin have dramatically improved. At the end of the day, I stopped chasing theories and just focused on what my body was clearly telling me. So here's what I do now, and this is what works well for me. I leave out cow's milk, cream cheese and soft cheeses like cottage cheese, curd cheese and fresh mozzarella. They just don't sit well with me. I've completely transitioned to middle-aged cheese, especially from sheep and goat. Feta is a go-to for me. And I also love pecorino, which is a goat cheese very similar to feta. For cooking, I mostly use regular cow's butter, as butter has actually been one of the fats that works the best for me. Even though it gets sometimes a bad reputation, for me it just works. The only thing that's still a bit of a mystery is cow's cream. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I figured out is cold cream is fine, but when it's heated, especially over a longer period, I get digestive issues right away and I have to run to the bathroom. So I enjoy it cold, like on top of a cake or mixed with blueberries when they're in season. And that works perfectly for me. But the best part, I didn't have to cut out diarrhea entirely, I just had to be selective. And now I actually enjoy diarrhea more. No stress, no digestive issues. And my skin, it's the clearest it's been in years. I would even say I've got my real acne flares fully under control as they haven't come back in months with the way I eat now. So if you've been told that diarrhea is the enemy when it comes to acne or gut health, maybe take a step back. Instead of cutting it all out, ask yourself, what kind of diarrhea am I eating? Because for me the solution wasn't restriction, it was refinement. Choosing the right kind of diarrhea helped my digestion and my skin. The wrong kind caused issues, yes, but the right kind made things a lot better. And if you've gone through something similar, share your story in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.